Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff, aka GCurse here. How are you all doing this morning? Uh, it's been an interesting ride, hasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It, it's nice when you finally reach the end of the road and you're probably thinking, "Oh my God, Jeff, are you retiring from YouTube?" No, I'm not retiring at all. No, what this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of season one. Oh, sorry, season one, episode 11. Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. At the end of every episode of this series, I go over the cases that were covered in that episode, and I give you my final thoughts. Thus, the name. It's a review. Now, this episode of Black Site, this focused on season one, episode 11 of Unsolved Mysteries. That episode of Unsolved Mysteries had a total of 5 cases. However, as you can see up here, I gotta fix my camera. Hold on one second. Okay, yep, that's better. So, if as you can see up there, I omitted one of the cases from this episode of Black Site Files of Unsolved Mysteries because I originally covered or profiled this case back on season 1, episode 4 of Black Site. So that's why I did not cover it in this episode. But anyway, so basically, Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries had a total of 4 cases that we went over. In the first case, we had the case of Jenny Pratt. This is just going to also be like a quick rundown where I'll give you more details coming up, basically. So the first case, we had the sad, tragic case of Jenny Pratt, who suffered amnesia. And then for case number 2, we actually had the case of Jack Quinn, who committed, I'm guessing, I'm not sure what the difference between fraud and embezzlement. I don't think kind of like this under the same umbrella. I'm not sure. Well, we can always take a look at that when we talk about this case. After that, we actually have one of my favorite cases. It is the unexplained death of Clarence Roberts. How could a guy who died in one fire appear in a second fire? Finally, we have the case of Ross James Preston, also known as the bank robber named Fumbles. That's right, the guy's name is Fumbles. You can guess that he got that name not because he was a master of his craft, but more because he was a fucking idiot. But right after this commercial from the 1980s, I will be right back with the beginning of this episode. So stay tuned and I'll be right back.
Well, fans, it all comes down to this moment. This is where it all gets decided. Johnson steps in, checks the signs, makes a few adjustments. This is a classic confrontation. He's digging in. Here's the delivery. And there it goes. He's going back, way back. It is going. It is gone.
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
The ball game's over.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So the first case that was covered on Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries Season 1, Episode 11, it was actually the case of Jenny Pratt. Jenny Pratt was a high school girl who basically had everything going for her. She was an awesome student, she had good grades, and she had a boyfriend. Jenny Pratt fell into the same trap that a lot of other high school girls and boys find themselves in every day. That being the trap of having an extremely older boyfriend or girlfriend. In this case, Jenny's boyfriend was named Curtis Croft. Curtis convinced Jenny to kind of lie to her parents about the true age of Curtis Croft. Whereas Jenny talked to her parents and convinced her parents that Curtis was either just about 17 or 16. I can't recall exactly the age. He was actually in his early 20s, if I remember correctly. I think the age was 24. Not only was Curtis older by a few years than Jenny Pratt, but Curtis also had a history of run-ins with the police. Curtis was he was known for selling drugs. And ultimately this life of crime, actually it's believed that this life of crime ended up coming back on Jenny Pratt, sadly. Curtis Croft not only had a reputation of selling drugs, he also had the reputation of being a snitch. Now, you all know that if you're a snitch, that's a no-no. That's why there's that classic saying that snitches get stitches. Well, Jenny Pratt, even though her family was finally, I'm guessing they finally became aware of Curtis's age. I'm guessing they were still allowing Jenny to go out with Curtis. Me, not only would I have said no, I'd have that motherfucker arrested for statutory rape. But that's just me. I'm not sure what you would do. I would hope that you would do the same, yeah. Some guy who's in his 20s fucking my 17-year-old daughter or 16-year-old daughter, whatever her age was. Actually, let's take a quick look at that while we're here. Let's take a quick look. Okay, it'll be a second. Hold on 1 second. Display. Okay, and then we will go to this one. No. This one. There we go. There we go. So let's pull up a browser. Let's then season 1, episode 11. Jenny Pratt. I think she was in her either 16. Yeah, 16. She was 16. And then she told them that she had she told her parents that Curtis was 17 years of age. See here. Yep, I was right. He was 24. So Jenny was 16. Curtis was 24, and she convinced her parents that he was 17. So, but going back to what I was originally saying, yeah, I'd have Curtis arrested for statutory rape if Jenny was my daughter. Yeah. But anyway, to go back to where we were, Jenny and Curtis were off on, they were going riding on his motorcycle when a truck at, I think it was between, it was traveling fast enough to do the damage. Let's just say that. A truck carrying some people was heading in the same, up a nearby lane on the road. As they were getting closer to Jenny and Curtis on the motorcycle, they pulled out a 2x4 and it hit Jenny in the back of the head, causing severe damage. Well, Jeff, what about Curtis? I don't fucking give a shit about Curtis. Curtis is the reason, in my opinion, that Jenny was put in that position. Curtis's actions directly had an impact on Jenny Pratt. If you feel bad for Curtis because Curtis suffered a little bit of injury from that, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Curtis made his bed. Sadly, it was Jenny that suffered the price for it. Anyway, Jenny suffered severe damage, and as you can see here, let me just turn off my camera so it actually looks better. There you go. So as you can see in the picture on the far right, Jenny she had some damage from post attack, as you can see here. However, I can announce that Jenny has, as of the update of that of this case, Jenny was she's been moving, and she was attending physical therapy to help with all the problems she developed after that attack. So I got to give Jenny credit for being tough enough to continue to fight and get better. As of this reporting, or when I covered the case, The case is still unsolved. It's still unsolved. Nobody's actually been brought to justice yet. Although I think Curtis Croft knows more than he is actually saying. But that's just me, ladies and gentlemen. Ultimately, it is up to you to decide if Curtis is guilty or if he's innocent. That's your decision. As always, if you're curious about this case, I will actually link the Black Site recording along with the Unsolved Mysteries recording of this case. I'll link it in the description below so you can watch the case in its entirety and you can come up with your own decision. After these commercials, I will be right back with the case of Jack Quinn.
Is this a private party or can any store crash? So, new Coke is catching on. The taste is better and newer than. You said the P word. So, what I want to know is, if you're drinking Coke, who's drinking Pepsi? You said the P word! If you can't beat it, catch the wave. Coke.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, we have the case of Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn was the vice president of a business called Federal Protection Services. He was the general manager there. Also, they provided security and armed guards to banks and other institutions. So basically, it's kind of like that business, that kind of company that you see with armored trucks from time to time making drop-offs and everything at local stores and whatnot. Jack Quinn was one of those guys. So you'd figure that Jack Quinn, he must be a good guy. He's protecting your money. He's trying to do the good fight. Sadly, that's not the case. No, sirree. Basically, Jack is wanted for theft, according to the wiki. I think the Jack Quinn wiki on the Unsolved Mysteries Wikipedia, whatever you want to call it. However, on the video, I think it actually says that he's wanted for fraud. So I'm guessing, it kind of falls under that umbrella, like I said earlier. Jack decided, you know what? I'm in this position of power, ladies and gentlemen. I've been working here for, let's see here. Does it say how long he has been working here? Let's take a quick look. Let's see here. Let's see here. I'm just going to do a search for the word years. Years? Okay, it doesn't say how many years he was working with her, but it must have been for at least a couple years since he worked as, he was the vice president and the general manager, so he has to figure that he has been there for a while. But anyway, one day he stole. That you can't really say any other way. He stole $1.3 million. $1.3 million. And to this day, he's never been apprehended. Now, I did the math in the Jack Quinn profiling, or the reading, back, earlier in this episode, and I think that he would have been I think he would be in his 80s by now. I can't recall exactly the age, but considering that he was born on he'd be a little over 80 years old because he was born January 7th, 1940. So, considering his age, he's probably suffering from declining health. If he is still alive, he's probably in a nursing home under an alias, or he may be dead. But the thing we all need to remember, ladies and gentlemen, is this is not somebody you should boo-hoo for. This guy stole $1.3 million. If you stole $1.3 million, if I stole $1.3 million, we'd be in prison. So why should we feel bad if he is in declining health or he is dead? He brought this on himself. But yeah, so basically they believed that Jack was stealing money from the business for quite a while. And maybe, just maybe, that old debts caught up with him, and that's why we never seen him again. He stupidly left his wife. Let's see here. Let's go back to the wiki. Let's see here. The next morning after he disappeared, the wife went to his vehicle and she found $107,000 in the trunk. I'm guessing that's his way of saying, hey, honey, I fucked up. Here's $107,000. Now, did the wife do the smart thing and report it to the police? Fuck yeah. She turned the money into the police. The wife is not that stupid. Congratulations, wife. You are very smart. I like you for that. But yeah, so they believe that he has been stealing money for a while and that he bought like a 10-acre horse ranch. And they said it was suspicious because he only had annual income of $35,000. Now, which kind of makes me scratch my head because he could afford, because you shouldn't be able to afford a 10-acre horse ranch on an annual income of $35,000, because that's actually what I'm kind of making right now. I'm either at $35,000 or slightly above $35,000 right now. But yeah, so the guy is not good. The guy is not good, and that's all I really gotta say about it. And like I said, never been apprehended. So after these upcoming commercials, I will be right back with my favorite case of this episode, the case of Clarence Roberts. Stay tuned.
How to start an impressive family art collection. First, find some talented local artists. Then inspire them with Crayola Happy Meal boxes from McDonald's. Every Crayola Happy Meal comes with your children's favorite McDonald's foods, plus an art kit with a McDonaldland stencil and 4 Crayola crayons or a Crayola marker. There are 4 sets in all, a different one each week. With Crayola Happy Meal boxes from McDonald's, it's easy to build a family art collection. After all, you already have the family art gallery.
Excuse me, Daddy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I bet you didn't think my camera was going to be in this exact position, did you? Haha, I like to shock you. No, not really. It's just I didn't want to cover up Geneva's name. Anyway, my favorite case of this episode, the unexplained death of Clarence Roberts. Now, even though we have Clarence, all right, fix the camera. Hold on one second. I really got to remember to fix the camera next time. Okay, anyway. Even though we have both Clarence Roberts' name over here and Geneva over here, this is actually Clarence Roberts' story. Geneva, she was actually part of the story, but I think honestly, she was more of like just a side character of this unsolved mystery. Question, ladies and gentlemen. How does a person who died in 1970 in a mysterious fire, how is his body found 10 years later in the same month in a whole different fire? Is he a weird zombie? Is he a vampire? Is he a demon? I don't fucking know. But this case I thoroughly enjoy. Basically, in 1970, Clarence Roberts died in a fire. However, if we let's kind of go into the way back machine a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll learn a little bit about what led up to this odd outcome. Clarence Roberts married Geneva Roberts. They kind of worked their way up through society. Clarence Roberts opened up like a tool store, I think it was, with his brother, if I remember correctly. The business became a success. Clarence sold the business, got a whole bunch of money, got a whole shit ton of money, more money than I probably have. He bought a house. He bought 3 luxury cars. And by this point, Clarence and Geneva had, I think they said like 2 or 3 children. Anyway, yeah, hey, that's what I like about this show. We can actually look it up. That's why I like the concept of my show so much. Okay, here, we're not talking about Jack Quinn anymore. Let's do Clarence. Clarence and Geneva Roberts. If you are new to this series that I do, or you're a fan of Unsolved Mysteries, this is an awesome resource for you. For anybody who likes Unsolved Mysteries, it gives like the breakdown of all the cases and whatnot. So let's see here. I'm just going to do a quick look over here. Embroiled, that's children. Hold on, let's. And their children. Let's see here. Oh, only says one time. Okay, they have children. They have children. It doesn't say exactly how many children, but they have children. They were basically living the American dream, basically. Nice house, your figurative white picket fence, cars, children. They had it all. They had it all, ladies and gentlemen. However, as with everything, the nice life ultimately ends up costing you. And that's what happened to Clarence Roberts. Clarence ended up investing in property, which I felt should have just boomed for him. He invested in an apartment and several grain silos. The apartment I could possibly understand not taking off because it was mentioned that that town was actually pretty small. Why invest in an apartment if the town's small? They're not getting that much in the way of new people moving in. But the grain silos, that's what actually confused me because everybody needs food. Everybody needs food. Grain is a vital component to a lot of stuff that people eat. So that actually kind of shocked me. It's like, really? The grain silos did not bring in profit. That's what actually shocked me. But anyway, he was starting to take on debt after debt after debt. Investments were not yielding results. Money was drying up. Debts were just starting to bloom. It caught up with Clarence. Clarence's own brother, who was the sheriff, had to come and repossess 2 of the cars. Oh boy, like I said in the reading of this case, I'd hate to be sitting at that table on Thanksgiving. Oh boy. Anyway, Clarence was running out of options. He was running out of options, like we all do. One day, he was seen in a neighboring town at a restaurant with somebody, a nameless person. The person was kind of described as being kind of like a vagrant, but the person was eating, and it looked like Clarence was talking to this stranger about some jobs that he had back at home that needed to be taken care of. Basically asking the guy if he wanted to work for some money. When Clarence and the stranger were leaving to get in Clarence's car, the stranger kind of bent over and was having medical problems. Clarence told somebody, I can't recall who, hey, let's go back here anyway. Let's go back here. Let's see here. Hospital. Okay, let's see. Clarence said that he would take the man to the hospital. Apparently, and then Detective Kuster, he was investigating this case and everything. He checked all the hospitals within a 300-mile radius, and the man was not recorded as going into the hospital. Shortly later, the barn, if I remember correctly, caught fire on the Roberts property. Inside the remains of the barn, the ruins of the barn, I guess you could say, they found a body. And most importantly, they found a ring. Now, one thing I did not mention prior to, at this point, Clarence Roberts was a member of the Masons, and he reached the 33rd degree of the Masons, which is symbolized via a ring. The ring was found in the fire. Reports are that the ring did not suffer any major damage at all. Now, when I read this case to everybody, I actually, researched the melting point of a couple of types of metals that were most likely made for rings, gold and brass, and it gave the melting point. And then I talked about the temperature of the fire, and the fact is the ring had no real damage. So the belief is that the ring was planted there most likely by Clarence, and that he killed the homeless person. But Clarence was gone, and they could not tell the own admission, even by admission, from what we read, they couldn't even tell if the corpse was human or not. It was that damage. The fire was that damaging. So they just assumed that Clarence was dead. The following years, between 1970 and 1980, Geneva Roberts fought to get the life insurance policy that Clarence had on himself. Every time she, went to court, she was constantly denied. Denial after denial after denial. Well, reports are it took its toll on her. I don't blame it. I don't blame her. Like if Clarence was actually dead, if he was actually dead, he should have got access to that money. But because of the circumstances, they would not give it to her. He became somewhat of a recluse. And during this time, people started seeing another individual living on the property, or not living on the property, but on the property that Geneva Roberts lived on. However, when people started to, when they would walk near the property or go on the property, the person would quickly walk away. They could never get a good view of who the person was. Popular belief, and it could have been true, popular belief is that it could have been Clarence Roberts. I actually have a theory of my own, but I'll talk about that at the end of this portion here. Well, on November 29th, if I remember correctly, let's see here. Okay. Oh, wow. There's 49 mentions of a fire. Holy shit. Let's go with November. I don't want to try to search through all of them. I think, yep, November 29th, 1980. There was a second fire. This time it was at the home of Geneva Roberts. Once again, a body was found in the rubble. Sorry. The body was determined to be Geneva Roberts. Sadly, the fire claimed Geneva Roberts. However, elsewhere in the rubble, they found a second body. The body is reported to be that of Clarence Roberts. Now, this leaves a question, ladies and gentlemen. How did Clarence Roberts go from one fire in 1970, November of 1970, to another fire 10 years later, November of 1980? They think that possibly he killed the transient, the vagrant, which most logically speaking, yeah, that's probably what it was. The fire was, by their own admission, was bad. Let's see here. Remains. Let's see. Would that be word? Okay. Oh, no. Human. Let's try human. Human. Oh yeah. Okay. Here it is. The half melted. Okay. Going back to the first fire, a half melted shotgun was by the first body side. The body was so badly burned it was difficult to identify as human. So basically, they could not tell for sure if that was Clarence or not, but they're assuming because of the ring and everything that it was Clarence. Popular belief is that Clarence killed a transient, disappeared for a while, and then when he ran out of money, he returned to Geneva Roberts. One of the reasons that they believe it could have been Clarence is because Geneva Roberts was a diabetic, and she would always go to a store and buy alcohol. People with that are diabetic normally don't drink alcohol. So that was a major red flag. They believe that the person that they would see kind of lurking around the property was actually Clarence Roberts. Now, here, I kind of joked. I'm like, well, how could he get from one fire to the next, Popular belief is that people that he fucked over, that he probably owed money to, ended up killing him a second time along with Geneva and then burned the house down. Another popular belief is that maybe he killed his wife, killed Geneva, and then he committed suicide. Here's my theory. And I know it's fucking crazy. Do I think he's a vampire? Fuck no. He's not a vampire. Do I think he's a ghoul? No. What I think it was something more psychological. I think that Geneva lost her fucking mind. I think she lost her mind. She lost her mind, and it didn't come on. What happened to her? I don't think it came on quickly. But she cracked. She went from, by reports are, she was on, when she was young, she was on the poor side of the railroad tracks, basically. She went from being poor to having the nice life back to being poor again. I think that messed the lady up. And it started off something slowly. Maybe she heard Clarence's voice. But I think that somehow, either by herself or maybe with members of the family, I don't know, that's just a theory of mine. I think that they dug up Clarence's remains. Oh, that's right. I'm going there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going with the psycho theory. What do you mean the psycho theory? Watch the movie Psycho. You'll know what I'm talking about. I think Geneva had Clarence's remains in the house. People who would go to her house were never invited. One of the people who were interviewed for this case said that whenever she would go to visit Geneva would always be out there and talk to her on the porch, which was rare because in that community, it was pretty normal for people to be invited into the house. My reasoning, I think that Clarence was there, either alive, is because if he was identified and alive, caused a whole shitload of trouble for Clarence and Geneva. However, if Clarence was dead, I'm pretty sure a dead body, especially a burned skeleton, I'm pretty sure that smells pretty bad. I would not be shocked that she would only meet people outside, because if they went into the house, they would be able to tell that something was not right due to the smell, which would then cause them to contact the police and there'd be an investigation. That's my theory. That's just my theory, though. But ultimately, what we have here, we have a woman who's dead. We have a guy, another body of a person who died back in 1970 and somehow was in the second fire in 1980. This is an actual legitimate unsolved mystery. And that's why it's my favorite case of this episode. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. When I return, I will be right back with the case of Josh. Oh, what was his fucking name again? Hold on. No. Josh James Preston, or I can't recall his fucking name, but Fumbles. See, that's the thing. The guy he's so not even remarkable. I can't even really remember his name. But anyway, I'll be right back after these commercials.
And now some typical consumer reaction to an exciting Pizza Hut offer.
Yabba-dabba-doo! Yabba-dabba-doo! Yabba dabba do.
That's right, it's Flintstone Kids glasses. Freddie, Betty, Wilma, and Barney. Just 49 cents with any Pizza Hut pizza. There's a different glass every week, so you can collect all 4 for your kids. What do you say to that?
Yabba dabba do.
Flintstone Kids glasses, only at Pizza Hut.
Up next, we have the case of Ross James Preston, aka Fumbles. This piece of shit held up over 30 banks in Florida in the early 1980s. He was apprehended. He copped a plea deal. He was served 25 years of prison. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. He only served 13. You can tell why I am not that happy. I don't like the concept of plea bargains already. I think it is a way for major criminals to get out from serving the punishment that they are deserved. I do not like the thought of plea bargains. They should not be allowed to happen. The guy admitted to the robberies that he did. For him to get a 25-year sentence under a plea deal and then serve 13 years of that sentence, it rubs me the wrong way. And the thing is, he also used a weapon. This isn't just a simple, hey, give me your money. He had a fucking weapon. He could have used that weapon. You don't bring a weapon with you unless you actually plan on using it. That's all I really have to say, because this was actually a fucking short case. There was not much covered in this case at all. Here, I'll zoom out and you can even see what I'm talking about. We have the case, we have the results, and that's it. It was literally like 2 paragraphs almost, maybe a little bit more. For as little as that I had to read for this case, it pissed me off. It pissed me off a lot, you know. Granted, I was pissed off when it came to Jack Quinn. But Jack Quinn didn't go to his co-workers with a gun and threaten them while he robbed the building blind. Or stole the money, or whatever you want to call it, you know. This guy brought a weapon with him to commit these crimes. If you listen to the video, well, like I said, I'll post a link to the Unsolved Mysteries video also in the description. If you listen to one of the tellers, she's basically said she was scared for her life. If that was your mom, your sister, your aunt, whatever, and she told you that this guy held a gun in my face and I was scared, do not tell me that you would have been okay if he only served 13 years. Because if he was having a different day, your loved one would not have been here. Okay, so that is it for the breakdown of these cases, ladies and gentlemen. When I return after these commercials, it will be my final thoughts, which I'll give you the positives, the negatives, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned, I'll be right back.
Hey, what a plan for building a perfect cheeseburger. Start with cheese. Glorious cheese. A plank of Swiss over here. Ah, a perfect Swiss burger. Cut that cheddar for a bacon cheddar burger. Haul in the Monterey Jack. A perfect Mexican burger.
To get your plans, hurry to your grocer's meat or dairy case and enter the Build a Perfect Cheeseburger sweepstakes.
You could win a perfect patio and barbecue set.
With real cheese, every cheeseburger you build will be
perfect.
Okay, this is my second time recording this because I did not realize my microphone was muted. It's not muted now, thank you. So I feel stupid for that. But anyway, it is now time for my final thoughts. In this video, in this portion, I'm going to give you the positives of this episode, the negatives, and then I'm just going to do everything, you know. I'm going to do everything. I'm like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to Unsolved Mysteries. I can do everything, you know. Anyway. Positives. The bravery that Jenny Pratt exhibited in her case. It takes a lot of courage to be a victim of a vicious crime and then go on TV after you have suffered severe damage and still try to convince the people responsible, to do the right thing. Me, I can't help but think that it was me and Jenny Pratt was my daughter. I would not go the route of trying to reason with them. I would probably lose my fucking mind and tell them if I ever find them, then there would be, consequences. So that, the Jenny Pratt bravery, that's like one of the big positives. Now, when it comes to Clarence Roberts, I know people are going to say, Jeff, are you condoning what Clarence Roberts did? No. Hear me out. I put Clarence Roberts as a positive, not because of what he did, but how expertly crafted they produced that case. I encourage everyone who is watching this, whenever it is that you watch this, in the link in the description below, I'm going to put the link to the in the Clarence Roberts case. Both the Unsolved Mysteries commentary version that I did on Facebook, along with the YouTube Unsolved Mysteries release of it. I encourage you to go and watch that video. You will see what I'm talking about. This was not just a quick recording, because that's kind of like what the Fumbles case was. They crafted an awesome story to tell us. I encourage you to watch it. Finally, the audacity of Jack Quinn. Once again, I'm not defending Jack Quinn at all. He committed the crime. However, I have to give the guy credit for having the balls. This isn't a case of a guy going into the business after hours, of Jack Quinn going to the business when the business was closed. No. He went into that business when it was up and running. There were people walking around. There were even people who would walk by the room that the money was being held in. They would see him there tinkering with the money. They thought he was counting it or whatever, when in reality he was putting the money in the boxes to move to his vehicle. It takes a lot of courage to literally go into your business when there are dozens of people around and rob them blind. He didn't even pull out his weapon at all. He went in, took the money, and left. I'm not saying it's good or not, but there is something there you gotta say about the audacity that this guy had to do this when everybody was fucking there. It's like, to me, I view it like going to, oh god, what is that thing? What's that example? Let's say you have a fundraiser or a drawing or whatever. You literally walk into this giant gymnasium where everybody is, they can see you. And you go and right in front of their eyes, and they don't realize it, you're rigging the results. Right in front of them. They see you doing it, but they don't realize what you're doing until it's too late. That's why I put that up as positive. Not because he committed the crime, but the courage the guy had. Okay, so for the negatives. Now, I'm going to get a little bit of it's always hard when I do these kind of videos, these review videos. Because I'll be honest, there's times everything kind of bleeds together, especially with Unsolved Mysteries. Everything bleeds together. And this is the case with the Ross James Preston's sentence. Is this a negative more of the case itself? Is this a negative of Ross James Preston? Should I punish the episode for this? it's like that, you know. So I put the Ross James Preston, his sentence, I put that as a negative. I think the guy should have gone for life. He should have gone for life. The guy held the guy had a weapon with him when he committed these crimes. When he committed these armed robberies, he had a weapon. He could have had one bad day. He could have held up a bank. The teller would be like, "No, I'm not giving you any money," and he could have killed him for that. He could have done some serious damage. But it's like they did not take that into consideration. And because of that, he got he copped a plea deal, received a 25-year sentence, and served only 13 years. He served a little over half that time. He should have been made an example out of, to be honest. And then we have the lack of case variety for this episode, and that's going to kind of spin off into the case breakdown. Case breakdown, we had the amnesia case of Jenny Pratt. One thing I really did not mention is that one of the issues that Jenny Pratt had after the attack on her was that she had amnesia. We had the case of Jenny Pratt, which was amnesia. We had the fraud case of Jack Quinn. We had the unexplained death of Clarence Roberts. And then we had the wanted case of Ross James Preston, also known as Fumbles. The one case that was omitted was the solved case, which was the Joe Shepard case, which I covered in a previous episode of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. For a final grade, I'm giving this episode a final grade of C+. Now, keep in mind, this is subjective. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying my opinion is fact. It's not. I don't speak for everyone. This is my grade. The standout case, if you could not tell from the way I've been talking, standout case was Clarence Roberts. Sorry, Clarence Roberts. I should have put down with a extremely close second, also being the Jenny Pratt case, but I just wanted to name one, and Clarence Roberts got it. Not because of what he did, but because of the fact that when they told, this was peak Unsolved Mysteries with their storytelling. This was peak. This case did for the unexplained death category of Unsolved Mysteries the same like what the Tallman House did for Ghost. This case makes you remember. You will remember this case forever. The lackluster case. It's actually a tie. Jack Quinn, Ross James Preston. I'll be honest. Jack Quinn, I give that case more credit than Ross James Preston, the Fumbles case, because they actually talked a little bit longer about the Jack Quinn case. Ross James Preston felt more like an afterthought that they just needed to fill out airtime. But basically, you have two cases here I really do not feel qualified as Unsolved Mysteries. Hell, how many times are there bank robberies in America? That's what Ross James Preston. He is your common bank robbing criminal. Nothing special here. Whereas Jack Quinn was the manager and the vice president of the company that he worked for. He wasn't just some guy that walked in and took the money. No, he literally worked there and he did the crime. But honestly, do these two cases, do they really qualify as Unsolved Mysteries? In my opinion, no, they do not. They do not. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was my final thoughts of season 1, episode 11 of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. We had a total of 4 cases that were covered. 1 was omitted. And I gave you my thoughts. I gave you the positives, the negatives. And now it's ultimately up to you. What do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you hate me? Do you like me? It's ultimately your decision, yeah. As always, if you like what you watch, feel free to click that like, the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, the thumbs up button, whatever you want to call it. Click the bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, click the like, click the follow, and I will see you next time. Next time, it is Season 1, Episode 12 that I will be covering of Unsolved Mysteries. The first case is that of Philip Pelletier, and it's a heartbreaker case. It is a heartbreaker case, ladies and gentlemen. But until then, I will see you all next time. Have a safe and happy New Year, and here's to a happy and prosperous 2025. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse, wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out.
What is the problem?
The new machine is acting up.
Up?
Bars are bigger.
They are bigger.
What do you suggest?
As your immediate supervisor, I needn't tell you the procedure.
Call the boss.
That's correct.
You should only know how much he likes that machine.
It's his baby. Rules are rules.
Call the boss.
Correct.
You know, he dedicated that machine to his mother.
I think you were on vacation.
He loves it very much.
Any suggestions?
Introducing bigger mounds and bigger almond joy. The chocolate's bigger, the coconut's bigger, everything's bigger.